What's up, Internet? My name's Ori. It is Wednesday, July 30th, day number 23 inside the Big Brother house. Keanu calls Rachel a floater again. Kelley gets caught snooping. Where does the vote stand? And also, a lot of plans get solidified yesterday. Let's talk about that, plus all the intel drama and more from yesterday's live feeds. But first, if you are new here, hit that subscribe button. If you like this video, hit that like button. Hit that notification bell. You'll never miss a video. You'll never miss a stream. Speaking of, there is an episode tonight. It's the HOH competition, nominations. We have been doing a little challenge here for these episodes. We're always going to do live eviction episodes and have a watch party for that. But the other episodes, I wasn't planning on it. If we hit 1,500 likes, we will have another watch party here on the channel. Let's see if you can crush that goal once again. Also, make sure you check out our sponsor, Factor. Chef-prepared meals delivered to your door, ready to eat in 2 minutes. Pick your pre-made meals from a weekly menu. Get 50% off and free shipping on your first Factor box using my link in the description down below, pinned comment as well. A little bit of a recap for you. If you guys haven't been keeping up with everything going on in the feeds, Lauren won HOH and she nominated Keanu, Kelley, and Will. Keanu, though, goes and rolls a D20, winning the power of veto, meaning once again, Lauren has to suffer through making a hard decision, which up to the morning of was still 50-50 on whether it should be Ashley or Adrian. It ended up being Adrian up on the block, meaning that Adrian, Kelley, and Will go on to compete in the blockbuster competition tomorrow before the live eviction vote. The winner will be safe. The two losers, one of them will be going home. Now, yesterday on the feeds, let's start off with Keanu and Kelley, who had like kind of a nice little chat where they were talking about, you know, how much they studied and looked up before coming into the house and onto the show. They probably should have done more, if we're being honest. Both agree, though, that Rachel doesn't know what she's doing and that she has no clue what's happening in the house or where people stand. Kelley also mentions that she wants to get Ashley out, but Keanu thinks Morgan and Mickey need to be the priority. We've been hearing that from Keanu for a long time now, where he's been pushing Morgan and Mickey. Now, Keanu also drops another little funny nugget on us. Keanu almost used the veto on Kelley at the ceremony, and he wanted to put Lauren on the spot, which later Kelley told Vince, Kelley told Vince, and then Vince went on to tell Lauren. And when Lauren heard this, her jaw was on the floor. She couldn't even believe that was a possibility. And she's like, if that would have happened, I would have crapped my pants. Like, that would not have been very good. We then also ended up with a Rachel and a Keanu meeting. And Rachel pitches a bunch of alliances that he wants to try and get into with Rachel. He's like, we should, really be working together. Rachel's like, you know what? I think maybe you should, go count your friends. Maybe I should even go count my friends, because basically she was trying to imply to him, like, I don't think you have as many friends as you think you have in this house. And Keanu actually says, Rachel, you're the one in the middle. You should come to my side. And he goes and at least he understood the irony here, because he's like, I understand the irony of what I'm about to say, but for lack of a better term, you're in the middle, you're floating. Rachel obviously does not like it. She looks right at the camera. And she says, you know what? Vince is lying to Keanu. He's lying right to your face. You think I'm the floater, but I think he's the floater. Afterwards, Keanu had a little alone time where he was kind of talking to the camera, and he's like, listen, at the end of the day, I think I'm right in this. And if I had to bet on somebody, if I had to put some money down on who I think has it right over me and Rachel, I'm putting my money on me. So he's going with his gut over what Rachel is thinking. Here's the thing, though. Rachel is kind of on the ball here. Actually, Rachel, I think, is probably playing the best game of Big Brother that she's probably played in all of her times on all of her other seasons. Most of the time, she was a very antagonistic person who was always at odds with a lot of different people. And yeah, she's had that here. She has made some really good connections, and also has a really good vision of how the game is going and where people are and what possibly would be good moves. One of the really cool conversations she had with Ava was about chat about, keeping Will no matter what. Like, that's who we want to keep in the house. And right now, the house is pushing for Kelley to go over Adrian to leave. But what Rachel says here is something that I think is so important and valuable to think about. She says, if everyone wants Kelley out, that makes her think Adrian is more of the problem. And yes, don't do other people's dirty work. If they want them out, make them get them out, right? You don't have to do it for them. If they want somebody out, cool, they can go do it. But if they want them out, that probably means they're good for your game. So that was a really kind of cool convo they had. A little bit later in the night, actually, they had another conversation too, where they were kind of catching up on some things. And Rachel had told, Rachel and Ava were just kind of talking about Jimmy, AKA the rumor mill. And how he's got like, oh, it's going to be a wall competition. It's going to be this. It's going to be that. Ava, though, also wanted to know what Rachel's thoughts are on Zach, because she likes him and doesn't think Zach would be coming after Rachel or her. Rachel, once again, is on the ball with this one and says, yeah, and you know what? He's really close with Lauren, and I've seen that you're really good friends with Lauren. Again, something that, the newbie who maybe hasn't played this game before, maybe isn't really a super fan who actually knows to look out for these things, they're going to pick that up. And Rachel was able to spot like, oh yeah, you know what? Ava and Laura are good friends. Zach and Lauren are good friends. Maybe I should just kind of get them all together and stick along with them because it actually could be good for my game. Later on, though, Ashley actually let Rachel know that Mickey and Morgan were saying that Rachel had been whispering to Keanu. But you know what? Ashley says they're doing the same thing, and they're doing a lot of whispering too. They also do a lot of Vince trashing here, and how he's been with everyone and he chats with everyone. He's going all around. So more stuff to just kind of keep in mind. And then Rachel and Jimmy, they ended up chatting with Morgan, and they started speculating about powers. Kind of the funny thing is, Mickey's name never comes up as a possibility. They start even like listing off like who it could be. Mickey's name does not come up. They also talk about Riley, and they say, hey, you know what? I think Riley could be a little bit smarter than he actually is putting on. Maybe he's pretending like, oh, I'm just here having fun on vacation. Maybe that's all just kind of a ruse to make us kind of lower our expectations. Jimmy disagrees very adamantly. He says, I don't think so. I think he is not smart at all. And he's very upset that Riley would say something like that about being, feeling like he's on vacation in this house, because that means he feels too comfortable. So that is a thing. Jimmy and Zach, though, they ended up talking to Mickey about bringing her into the alliance of the Heavy Hitters 2.0. It's pretty much the same as the regular Heavy Hitters, just minus Riley. You add in Mickey, and it's a thing. So when they got everybody in the room, it was kind of funny because Rachel's like, so what's going on? And Jimmy's like, I think we all know why we're here. It was such a... It was such like a cliche moment. And Zach explains, he's like, listen, we're just trying to put a group together of the people who are not floating, and these are the six. Like, we're the group here. And again, it's kind of an interesting group, right? The dynamics of the Heavy Hitters being Vince, Rachel, Zach, Mickey, Morgan, and then Jimmy being that group of the six. You've got Vince, who doesn't like Rachel, who doesn't like Vinny. You also have Zach, who doesn't trust Mickey. And then you have Mickey, who doesn't trust Zach, wants him out before jury. Then we have them all like, there's kind of trust in Morgan, right? Like Vince and Zach kind of work with Morgan, but they're also like, working with other people a little bit more, but there's still some trust there. And then nobody trusts Jimmy. So like, this is just such an interesting group here. That's all been brought together as this, or really it's the only real named alliance that we have that's still fully functional, and this technically is one that is rebuilt together and put back after they kicked out Riley. Moving on, though, we had Keanu and Mickey, who had a fun little chat, and really, more than anything else, like whatever happened in the conversation, the more fun part was they just kept getting interrupted multiple times because they were in the storage room. People just kept coming in, grabbing snacks and stuff like that. But also, Kelley was listening in at the door, which Morgan caught her doing. Kelley also had a conversation with Adrian where she was saying that she has the votes versus Will. So, he needs to win the blockbuster and then he'll be fine. She doesn't full on say it, But I think there's a chance she might think that she would throw the blockbuster so that Adrian could win it, which, if that's the case, as of now, she would be evicted over Will. Almost like that's the one that's almost like guaranteed, is that she would get evicted if she loses this blockbuster. So that could be an interesting thing to keep track of for tomorrow's episode. Later, she actually walked in on Jimmy and Rachel counting votes with strawberries, which is a much healthier option than the normal candy that we kind of see them all doing stuff with. But they quickly pretended they were playing like some game where you had to like put strawberries in different spots. Like, I think Jimmy was like, "Oh, Rachel, you can't put that one there now." And I'm not sure if that worked or not. I'm gonna be honest. I didn't hear Kelley go and like kind of bring that up to anybody else. And knowing Kelley, if she did catch on to that, she probably would have used that. So I don't know if she caught on or not. We'll see. Lauren ended up telling Zach that, Zach and Vince, you are my top priorities going forward. And he also, might have said like, yeah, I was really attracted to you. I just want to make that very clear. He is still going down that path of trying to make something work with Lauren. Lauren, though, she wants to kind of take it slow. She doesn't really want to do the whole showmance thing. So it is still something that Zach has his mind on almost at all times. And also, he did say to Vince a little bit later, he kind of want to pushes that narrative a little bit, because he feels like the people that think like, oh, maybe he's in a showmance, maybe they're thinking he's not actually like gaming as much as he really is. But we'll see if that really kind of pans out. We also had Lauren tell Vince that she doesn't necessarily want people to know that in the event of a tie, she would try and vote to keep Adrian, because she thinks that, Adrian would then try and use that to leverage and get more votes. And she doesn't want people to know that like that's a possibility, right? Like she doesn't want that to be pressure. And she also doesn't necessarily want a tie. Like that's a big thing for her. But here's the thing. Rachel and Adrian, and they had a little bit of an interesting conversation, right? And it was weird because it didn't go great, but for the most part, he was kind of fishing for info, right? He wanted to know like how his name came up for a nomination. And he asked her like, listen, did you say my name to Lauren? Like when they were asking about the renom, did you throw my name out to Lauren? Rachel denies it, which also I don't remember actually ever saying Adrian should be the renom. I think she's actually telling the truth here. And because for the most part, she was more so pushing Vince and telling Lauren not to let Vince control her nominees than actually putting a name up. I think she did actually say that she would prefer Ashley not to go up, but she didn't ever, I think, put Adrian's name out there as someone to go up, which is kind of a smart thing. You don't want to just be throwing out information like that could be used against you. And it's a thing. Adrian, though, then goes and has conversation with Lauren trying to like clarify this information. And Lauren kind of says like, yeah, you know what? I think that's true, right? I don't think she ever really said your name, right? She just said like, do what you want to do, and don't let anybody control your nominations. And she's like, I think she was like also insinuating like don't put Ashley up. But again, she kind of just confirms to Adrian like, yeah, like I Rachel didn't say your name. This, though, really seemed to sketch out Lauren a little bit, who went and grabbed her safety blanket, aka Vince, saying like, he was trying to figure out stuff, and who was the first person to throw the name out. And she's like, honestly, like I didn't even know how his name even came up. Like I don't know who did it, but it just came down to Ashley and Adrian. It's like, you were the HOH, like you were the one making decisions, but then you wouldn't make a decision, so now you don't even remember who made the decisions. They got interrupted a few times, but like they were up there forever, so you would imagine that it would be quite easy to get interrupted. And Lauren drops this great line where she's like, I just wish like we could freeze time and then talk for like 3 hours. And it's like, you already do. They've literally been talking for so many hours that it is just insane that she wants to freeze time and talk for even more. Ashley and Will ended up meeting up, and they both do think that Mickey has the power and that Mickey's been lying to them, that she doesn't have the power. What's funny, though, is Mickey ends up joining them, and they all think like, probably if Will can get through this week, next week they should be fine as long as Keanu doesn't end up winning HOH. And here's where it gets really juicy. One of the things they said is that if they win HOH next week, guess whose name is being brought up for being on the block? You know, guess whose name? Maybe somebody who made a deal. Maybe somebody who kept you safe this week. Maybe somebody who could have taken a shot. Yeah, that's right. They're already throwing Lauren's name as someone who would go up on the block next week. Do you remember that deal? What did I say about that deal? As soon as they are out of danger, there is nothing for them to incentivize them to keep hold of their end of the bargain. Yeah, you kept them safe for that week. That was dumb on you. Now I get to come after you and do whatever I want. You're the one who believed me. So look forward to some of that happening, and then Lauren having to deal with the ramifications of making probably a bad choice, because either way, they were going to come after you, Lauren. There was no deal. You just take the shot. Ashley ended up having go at Zach, and this was a little awkward because Zach is in the shower while this is happening. And Ashley goes up to Zach and she's like, "Listen, I just want to tell you, Morgan is in love with you." And Zach is literally in the shower right now. Like, he's literally in the shower, like full on, just like soapy, showering up. And Ashley's just like, "She's in love with you." But you've been doing a good job not leading her on, and, you know, focus on Lauren. I'm so proud of you. It was so awkward. But yeah, Ashley is definitely pushing for Zach to, you know, make sure he's a good boy. Zach also, like I said, had told Lauren earlier in the day that he was attracted to her again. And, you know, it's a thing. So we'll see how this little love triangle all develops. But we did end up getting Morgan, Zach, and Vince, who met up. And apparently Will had pitched an alliance of Zach, Vince, Morgan, Will, Ava, and Adrian. So basically the Bond minus Lauren. But bringing in Morgan. It's like the Heavy Hitters 2.0 meets the Bond 2.0. It's like they're just taking people out of the alliances that exist and then replacing them with who they like better. If I was at Zach and Vince being in these two different alliances, I'd be like, what is my game right now? What are we doing? Like, this is ridiculous. But that is potentially a thing. But the thing is, with Morgan, she is a little curious because what is the point of that alliance? And she's really confused on why there would be no Mickey or Ashley. Oh, I don't know, because Will had the Bond and now he's trying to form a new one and they weren't in the Bond. So now he's just trying to bring Morgan in because that's the replacement for Lauren, because Will knows that Zach and Vince also like Morgan as much as they like Lauren, but he doesn't like Lauren because Lauren put him up. Oh, yeah. If Morgan, once Morgan's able to like put all these pieces together, I hope like everything she has an aha moment. Morgan really needs to have that because she is so clouded and just blinded by what if you take Ashley's take on it, just her love for Zach. Zach and Vince, or also about that alliance as well. One of the other things that Morgan is worried about is like, she's like, is it really like a thing that he wants to do, or is it just numbers to him? Because if it's just numbers to him, it's like, I'm not cool with that. Like, I don't want to work with that. Zach and Vince tell Morgan though that Keanu has been saying like she's the head of the snake, and how Keanu thinks that Rachel has no idea about what's going on. And then Morgan's like, you know what? Maybe I should just go have that talk with him, right? Because, like, you know, it was more Jimmy's target than it was me who was really starting all this. So I don't know why he's so hyper focused on me. So she's like, yeah, you know what? Maybe I'll just go talk to him, find out. And Vince is like, well, you know, as long as you don't mention anything that me and Zach said directly, right? Like, don't bring us into it, right? And the reason why is because Zach and Vince have both thrown Morgan under the bus to Keanu. All right. So they do not necessarily want Keanu and Morgan to start comparing notes in this situation, because that would be very, very bad for them. So I would actually love if Morgan would go have this conversation and maybe she has her aha moment. But we'll see how that goes. Rachel, Ashley, Mickey ended up talking about Kelley and Adrian and what the whole situation should be here. Rachel was actually asking, like, hey, would it be better to keep Kelley, right? Like, Mickey and Ashley, like, what do you want to do? And they're really wanting to keep Adrian. Rachel, though, just, you know, continues to push her point about, like, you know what, Adrian's a really good competitor. Maybe it's not a good idea to keep him. Morgan ends up joining the girls, though, and having the conversation there. And Morgan tells them about catching Kelley listening at the door and how she caught her earlier, right? So that was a whole thing. And they all kind of agree now that, yeah, if it's Kelley and Will, we got to keep Will. And then Ashley really pushes. She's like, you know what? With everything we know now, right? Like, I forgot about what we even knew. I think Kelley does have to go over Adrian no matter what, which again is against what Rachel was pushing, the exact opposite. So I don't think Rachel would be exactly happy with how that's going, which is why I think she's doing so much more to try and build those relationships with people like Ava, potentially even getting in with maybe Lauren through Ava, and with Zach getting a little bit closer, just having these different people that potentially will want to work with her and take her further. Because that's the biggest thing with Rachel here. She technically kind of is a floater right now. Like that, like I'm not like she wants to pick a side. Don't get me wrong. I think Rachel in her like perfect game would want to pick a side, right? But at the moment, the way just things are going, she's getting pulled all over the place. And the way that there's no real side even, there's so much interconnected tissue here. It's not as defined as it has been when Rachel used to play. So she's kind of finding herself in that spot of a floater, right? The thing she hates the most. So in a weird way, Keanu was right. But can't believe I'm saying it. Moving on though from that, like I said, that could be interesting to see how that all goes. But we need to talk about more of Zach and Vince because they started talking about, again, playing up that showmance with Lauren. And Zach talks about, we probably have to wait till jury until we take those big shots against someone like Jimmy or Rachel. And Zach also talks about Morgan liking him and how he has to be cautious with his time that he spends with her. And he doesn't, want to lead her on. So I guess probably taking more from that Ashley conversation than probably he even should have. But Lauren eventually came down like a lost puppy. She came down looking for the boys, like, how were you guys at? And they were like, we promised, we were just about to come up. Like, we promised. So she heads on up, but Vince and Zach stay down just for a second to talk because they're worrying, right? Vince says, like, Zach, you got to start worrying about the point when you got to decide one way or the other, Morgan or Lauren. They basically were saying best case scenario, that doesn't happen till like final 5. But Zach has this look on his face where like he's just like, yeah, I know it's good. It's gonna suck. Zach knows like that is going to be like the moment in the game where he has to make the hardest decision that he has to make. The thing is, I think I know where he leans, but we'll get to that. Zach, Vince, and Lauren, they end up talking about everything up in the HOH room. They talked about, double eviction would be a good time when you take a shot at Rachel and Jimmy. Zach also tells them that Ava wants to talk to the rest of the bond, right? Minus Adrian and Will, since Lauren put them up. And Lauren says she would love that, right? So that would be Zach, Ava, Lauren, and Vince kind of meeting up as that foursome group. And then I would assume that would be the conversation where Ava is like, hey, why don't we bring Rachel in? Right. And that could be a 5th. But I don't know how that's going to work. Like if Zach and if Vince and Rachel end up getting brought together by Ava, that would be kind of a cool moment. Right. Vince, Lauren, and Zach, though, they actually solidify their final 3, right? They've kind of had the final 3, but like they were really like, let's make like this is a thing. And then like moving forward, like we vote as a union and we're together. And then Lauren has maybe the line of the night where she's like, final 3. If Morgan hasn't taken that spot first. It was beautiful. But they talk about, like, oh, we should come up with a name and stuff like that. And they throw out some random stuff because they're talking about it being like an onion. They talk about what was the one they said? It was Goodle, which is good noodle. It's some kind of thing. I guess it's an inside joke with them. But one of the other things that they said, and I thought this was pretty funny, was Lauren says she wishes she had ChatGPT. And then they ask and they say, Zay, help us send a banner. And you know what? I figured as someone who may dabble in a little ChatGPT himself, maybe I'd give it a shot. So I went and I put some information into ChatGPT and I said I needed some help with a 3-person alliance for BB27. And here's what it came up for me. And these are 3 of my favorites. So first off, we have Third Wheeled. I think that one's pretty good. We also have facial hair and feelings. And then one of my favorites, the swing set, based on the fact that Zach and Vince are going to be swinging from Lauren to Morgan. So ChatGPT, I think you nailed it. Those are 3 good options for him. Somebody send a banner overhead. Then it was almost like her ears were burning. Morgan ends up joining the HOH room conversation with Zach, Vince, and Lauren. So it's kind of the 4 of them all hanging out. She actually doesn't stay too long, though. She just kind of comes up to say goodbye and kind of have a little chat. And then their game chat continues. They talk about, who they want to stay. And Zach says that he thinks Adrian can be kind of like an extension to all of their alliances. He's somebody that can be an ally they can really use. But if they have issues, right, like, I get it, right? We don't have to do it. If you guys don't want to keep Adrian, I'm cool with it. And Zach does that a lot with Lauren, where he's like, listen, we're cool, right? We're cool. If you don't want to do it, we don't have to do it, but this is what I want to do. Here's the thing. Lauren just like wants you to tell her what to do. So like, that's a thing. And Lauren says she does feel good, and she feels like she can gain Adrian's trust back way more than she can gain Will's trust back. But with Kelley and Adrian, right? Like, that's kind of where there's a little bit of a debate on, it's like, all right, well, what should we really do here? Because the way they describe them actually is kind of perfect too, because they said they're almost opposite. Kelley is the lying instigator. Adrian is too honest to a fault. And they wonder, like, who's the bigger liability here? Who's the better ally to kind of hold on to? They actually think most would just end up evicting Kelley. And there was kind of a funny moment where they're going over like all the stuff about Kelley, and they're like, wait a minute, let's like check the door. Let's just make sure. And they go and open the door just in case she was there listening. You never know with Kelley. But they're saying that, people probably are going to want to evict Kelley. So that might be a hard one to even really push to keep in the first place, even if we wanted to. And Zach talks about, if it was the Will versus Kelley vote, and how if they did want to keep Kelley, that would fully expose, everything that they're trying to do if they voted to keep Kelley. And it would just mess everything up. And they say, like, if Kelley wants to stay, she's got to win that blockbuster to have her best chance. Zach brings up forming a potential alliance with Riley and Catherine, since, Riley apparently, they say, has woken up, right? He's gotten that idea that, oh yeah, Catherine could potentially go up on the block. So they were like, hey, you know what? Now that he's woken up and wants to play the game, maybe we start an alliance with him, right? We pull them in. And Lauren still is kind of like oddly against it, right? Like, she's just not feeling it. She says she loves them, but she doesn't want to be tied to them. They're potentially going to be, a target already. So if you go and form an alliance, you're already in their crosshairs. And there's already an understanding that they're working together. So like, it's like, do we really need to solidify it? And then Lauren also mentions, like, one of her big worries is she has this feeling that Kat is too close to Jimmy, and feels like Kat's kind of under Jimmy's thumb. She did say that Kat did come to her recently. Was like, I'm kind of not sure if I trust Jimmy. And Lauren was like, yes. But that is still one of the reasons that apparently Lauren is trying to keep her distance, is because of that relationship that Catherine and Jimmy have. They talk about Will versus Adrian, and they think really it comes down to Ava. We're going to break down the votes here on our allegiance chart in just a little bit, but I also kind of agree with them. Like, if they were able to pull Ava on over, it really could change the tide, but I don't see Ava voting against Will. But they talk about, like, that would be their first step, right? Is we would need to get Ava on board with it, and then they could move on from there. They also are saying that potentially they could leverage that Catherine-Jimmy relationship, and there might even be a chance that Catherine could get Jimmy to flip, because apparently, like, Jimmy had said to her, like, oh, I don't really care, who goes, I just want to be on the right side of the votes. So it's like, all right, well, if you don't really care, maybe last minute we can go to him and say, hey, Adrian's staying, and he will flip on over. They also mentioned that, like, they're like, listen, in the future, if Keanu ends up on the block on eviction night, we're just voting him out. Like, just get it done with. Zach also ends up talking about Mickey, making the comment that he has the 10K and that he probably should go before jury. And he really kind of questions, like, if he should actually take that shot so soon. And I think one of the things is, right, like with Zach, like, if he had just heard that and didn't have the 10K bribe, maybe he would take that shot soon, right? But because he has this 10K bribe, he can almost just sit back right now. Because if they want to try and do it before jury, all right, try and do it before jury and see what happens. And then he can just kind of go around, turn around and be like, ha, I got this, taking myself off the block, and then can come after them even into jury, right? So I think he's just kind of keeping that little ace in his back pocket to pull him out of danger, and it's why he's not wanting to go after Mickey so hard, even though she already has thrown his name out as somebody who should go fairly soon. Where else are we? They also mentioned that with Mickey, probably best to do a backdoor, which they also talk about really shouldn't come until jury because of the blockbuster. Again, really ruins the whole backdoor surprise, right? We can never, with the blockbuster and the AI arenas, have a true backdoor in the early part of the game because of this whole 3 nominee thing. It just doesn't work out. So if that's going to be a twist, we also have to accept, hey, there will be no pre-jury backdoors, which is kind of a shame. Yes, they normally do keep most of the backdoors after the jury starts, right? Like that's usually when they do them anyway. But I always like the idea that you never actually know what could come up, right? So we'll see. But that is something they're talking about, is for that double eviction, for like a backdoor type situation. Mickey would be somebody that you would want to go for in there too. They also say if it was Will versus Kelley, Kelley goes. If it's Adrian versus Kelley, Kelly's going to go. And then if it's Adrian versus Will, maybe they can get that 7, right? Maybe they can get Avon over. But the big thing is, if they don't and they end up trying to get a tie, that's where things are really tough, because they don't want that to happen. They don't want that tie, because then Lauren has to make even another decision. And they also kind of see that as them exposing just way too much with everything they have going on, right? With all the different deals they have. If it ends up being even just a tie, that starts to expose where the numbers actually are. So it's one of those things where it's like they like Kelley, and it's like, do they try and keep that whole thing even over Will just to expose where they are in the game? It's just not worth the risk. After this conversation wrapped up, though, Vince and Zach head on downstairs, and they say they love both Lauren and Morgan, and they will ride as far as they can with them. And Zach does say he really loves that Lauren is so much more aligned with their views, though, than Morgan is. And that pretty much wraps up all of the updates from yesterday, but I do want to go over some of our allegiance chart here, just to go over some of the votes and where they stand. It probably will have even more changes today, because as I said, there are some people who are trying to feel out like, hey, maybe we could flip a vote here. Maybe we can try and see if something happens. Once again, if it was a Will versus Adrian or Kelley, in either of those situations, you're going to have Mickey, Rachel, Morgan, Jimmy, and Ashley locked in. I think you can count Ava in there as well, but Zach and Vince, they want to try and pull Ava back over onto their side and potentially vote out Will, but I don't think they're going to be able to do that. So at the best, you're going to have 6 for Will, going into that eviction. Over on the Adrian and the Kelley side, if they were against Will, you could have Zach, Vince, Catherine, Riley, Keanu, and then one of the other of Adrian and Kelley, who would all potentially vote for that person to stay. But like I said, you then start exposing so much of your game if you're making that move right now and going against what other people want. Whereas if they can maybe get something going with Adrian, where it's like, hey, we already had the numbers over here anyway, why as well just flip it over here and just do what the HOH wants, and then Lauren doesn't have to split a tie. They feel like with Adrian, they could potentially do that. Again, the 2 votes they're trying to look at would be Jimmy and Ava. Jimmy, I don't know if he would actually do it. I don't know if he would, right? If they came to him very last minute and said, we have the numbers, are you going to flip? I feel like his first thing he would do would be to run to Mickey, Morgan, and Rachel and be like, hey, they say they have the numbers. What are we doing? Ava, I just don't see her wanting to get on board with the flip on Will either. Ava and Will have a really good connection, and I think Ava would be way more willing to give up Adrian than she would be to give up Will. But there is potential that Vince, Zach, Lauren maybe do all come together with Ava, and they do try and make this little bit of a group, and maybe they decide, yeah, maybe Will should go over Adrian. But then also, if Ava is trying to get Rachel involved and she's trusted in Rachel's say, Rachel is definitely more supportive of Will. So again, I don't think they're going to be able to flip either Jimmy or Ava to go on over. So the best case scenario you're looking at would be a tie to try and save Adrian or Kelley over Will. And I just don't think they have it in them right now to make that move, because they feel like it exposes them too much. So I think there's a very strong chance Will stays no matter what. When it comes down to Adrian and Kelley, again, no matter what, it feels like Kelley will be leaving unless she wins that blockbuster competition tomorrow. But it's going to be interesting to see. Like I said, maybe there is a chance that Jimmy gets pulled over. Maybe that Catherine-Jimmy relationship is stronger than any of us have really realized. We haven't actually seen much of it. I don't actually see them talk that much other than in just kind of like the big group chats and things like that. So maybe there is more of a relationship there than even we're realizing. But that is their attempt right now, is that maybe they could pull Jimmy over through Catherine, and they want to make sure that Catherine definitely doesn't tell Jimmy it's coming from them. But it wouldn't be hard to put two and two together once he's like, wait, we have the votes, and he would go talk to the other people and be like, wait, what are we doing here? And then they would say, yeah, we're still voting for this. And they'd be like, well, who are the votes? So it feels like it would just be too much of a risk to try and do it. So it does seem like they're not going to try and save Adrian or Kelley if they're up against Will. And then if it was Adrian and Kelley, Kelley would be the one to be evicted. So we'll have to see how this all plays out. Blockbuster will be really important for both Adrian and Kelley, and it's going to be really exciting. I like it. Thank you guys all so much for joining me here for this update. Like I said, if you want to see a watch party tonight here on the channel, we do have that goal. So if you hit that goal, we will have a watch party. If you are new here, though, hit that subscribe button. If you like this video, hit that like button, and maybe we'll do the watch party. Hit the notification bell. You'll never miss a video. You'll never miss a stream. Check out the links to all of my socials. Pinned comment down below in the description as well. You can check out things like Twitter and Discord. Great places to keep up with everything going on. Discord, a great place to chat all about what's going on the live feeds. And also check out our sponsor, Factor. You can get 50% off and free shipping on your first meal. That sounds like a deal to me. Go on and check that out using my link in the description and the pinned comment down below. You can also use the code as well down there. Thank you guys all again so much for watching. Potentially we will see you here tonight. Should be a good one. And I will see you tonight.
I have no reason to lie. So the fact that the narrative that I'm a liar in here is crazy. I literally just told you what I said, and if you, whether you choose to confirm it or not is up to you. But I told Will that right next to the pool. We had that exact conversation. You know?
Hey.
So.
Hey. Sorry.
No, you're good.
No problem.
Don't worry. Hey.
Hi. What can I use to make like a granola thing?